this edition of DevOps Dialogues, Insights and Innovation. My name is Paul Nashwati. I'm the practice lead for the app dev practice at the Futurum Group. I'm joined today by Chronosphere's CEO, Martin Mao, to talk about the recent partnership with CrowdStrike and the recent acquisition of Calyptia. But before that, Martin, let's talk a little bit about Chronosphere. What's it all about?
Yeah, for sure. And Paul, thank you for having me on the show. So Chronosphere is a cloud-native observability company. So, we provide an observability platform. You can imagine insights into your infrastructure, into your application, into your business. And in particular, we provide it for companies adopting cloud-native architecture or running on cloud-native environments. And for us, what's different about Chronosphere is we're really trying to solve the pain points that arise when you try to tackle observability in a cloud-native environment. And really, there's two pain points there. One is cost. It's very expensive to monitor and observe these cloud-native environments. There's a lot of data, and the costs are pretty high. The associated costs are pretty high when it comes to observability. The second part is that these environments are pretty complex, and hence it's much harder to solve problems and figure out what's going on. So those are the two problems that we try to target and do a better job at here at Chronosphere.
That's really exciting. And it's really interesting when I think about my area of coverage. I focus on day zero, day one, day two, right? So build, release, and operations. And when I think about the impact in the CI/CD pipeline and the impact to the DevOps teams and such, it really does matter about how quickly you can resolve issues, right? And seeing how these things happen. But it also matters about the security and all the aspects that kind of go along with it. But when we look at all the aspects of observability, as we were kind of going through it, and what Chronosphere does, this recent announcement with CrowdStrike. So you have logs powered by CrowdStrike, right? It's really kind of catchy, right? And it really kind of drives to that log storage and virtualization solution that you have, which I think is amazing. I've been following Chronosphere for quite some time, and I'd love to see your growth and where you're going. But this embedded CrowdStrike Falcon LogScale, within the Chronosphere cloud native observability platform, how does it really help your clients, and why CrowdStrike in particular?
100%. So I would say in the first part, the whole industry is moving towards a single unified platform for observability these days. Whereas a few years ago, you would perhaps have a log management solution separate from your APM, separate from your infrastructure monitoring software. And really, all of those tools are used to solve one use case these days. So what really the industry is looking for is all of that in one. So the very first thing that this does is it helps us complete the platform by adding log management capabilities there. And in particular, we chose CrowdStrike because for our customer base, we serve some of the largest, most complex companies in the world, and they have huge scale requirements and performance requirements for their log management capabilities. And for us, CrowdStrike checks those boxes extremely well. It's highly scalable, so it can handle petabytes and petabytes of data, while also having performance against all of that data as well. So for us, it was not only completing the platform, but also the right technology, the right log management technology to power that side for all of the existing Chronosphere customers and the companies that we work with.
And it sounds interesting. And the reason it does is when I think about observability as a practice, right? There was a running, I call it a joke for a while there, that the observability practice was basically a glorified storage admin, because basically all they did was just collect a bunch of data and didn't know what to do with it, right?
Yeah.
So you did this alerting and monitoring and logging, but that's really the kind of the immature stages of observability practices, right? Without just with just alerts and monitoring, you really can see what's happening, but that with those actionable insights is really what matters. And when you look at it from the perspective of maturity, there's different levels of maturity within organizations, both large and small, right? So you have SMBs or large enterprises that may have observability practices that can be fully mature, taking actionable insights on everything that's going on, or being at the very, very early stages of saying, okay, well, we have this red light, yellow light, green light kind of approach that happens, and we know what's happening, but we don't know what to do about it. So I definitely like the CrowdStrike partnership. It definitely kind of ties it together to do that logging and tracing all the way through the entire ecosystem and try to figure it out. So that's really powerful. And and again, the other side of it is the actionable insights, right? You can feed that into the CI/CD pipeline very easily now, right, with having that information. But speaking of developers and DevOps and such, Calyptia, what's all this about? So we have Chronosphere. You recently acquired Calyptia, and now they're the original creators of the Fluent ecosystem. As you know, I don't have to tell you that. You already know that. But why is this strategic for Chronosphere?
Yeah, 100%. So for those that don't know, Calyptia provide a telemetry pipeline. So it's the ingestion and the transformation of a lot of telemetry or observability data, including logs and metrics and traces, before it goes to a backend. And the reason for us to do that is, I mentioned in my introduction that one of the problems that Chronosphere wants to solve is the cost problem of observability. It's a huge pain point for a lot of those in the industry right now. And the way for us to solve the cost problem is not by just making it cheaper. That's a losing battle there. But for us, the way we approach it is we actually want to understand the cost of all the data and cost account it back to an individual team or a particular use case. And that cost, by the way, is not easy to figure out. Like a line of instrumentation may cost you $1 million a year. That same line may cost you $1. So like when you're instrumenting it, you actually don't know how much it's going to cost you. So we show you that cost, but we also marry that cost with the value of the data. We also want to understand how you're using the data and what sets of data is valuable and not valuable. And you can imagine with both sides of that equation, we can identify what's expensive but not valuable and sort of help you figure out what data is and isn't valuable to you and how much you're spending on it. So you can imagine with that data, you can go and optimize your observability costs by ideally focusing on the data that is really valuable there. That's what we do across the whole platform. However, we just added log management capabilities. And as we added log management capabilities, we also wanted to bring this control value proposition around cost onto log data as well. So that's what Calyptia really does for us for the Chronosphere platform there, is it allows you to have that same type of concept, but for the log data type as well. So now our customers can see, the cost of particular logs and also start to see the value of that as well. And that is through this telemetry pipeline acquisition that we made in Calyptia.
Yeah, and really one other piece that you didn't touch on a little bit, I want to double click a little bit down on that, is the impact to the ecosystem. Calyptia is also very broadly accepted in the open source community as well, right?
Yeah.
And that's a big selling statement, especially for DevOps and devs and such. They want to make sure that there's an open source project out there that's being hardened and tested, and it works. But also with the Chronosphere backing of it, you have the enterprise level support that goes along with it. So I probably didn't want to steal your thunder there, but I mean, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. 100%. So the founders at Calyptia also created the Fluent Bit project, which is a graduated CNCF project, and it can be used to ingest, enrich, process logs, metrics, traces, and various telemetry types. That project has become super popular over the last couple of years. I think it went from in the last 2 years, it went from 1 billion downloads to 13 billion downloads. So this project is literally everywhere, and it's probably the thing that's processing and routing your log data right now. So for us, to your point, it was important for us to be able to continue to invest in the open source community. Chronosphere actually has an open core nature in itself as well. So a lot of the technologies that we build on top of at Chronosphere are open source technologies that myself and my co-founder actually built originally at Uber as well. So we've had this theme of open source and supporting the open source community from the very beginning, and I think Calyptia only continues that into the Fluent side as well. So we're looking forward to continuing to support, and I would say additionally support even further the Fluent community now as part of this acquisition.
So Martin, do you see this as and I'm kind of going to lead into it a little bit, but as a major differentiator in the market? And the reason why I say that is because you see a lot of shifts that have been happening, a lot of acquisitions that are occurring, big, large vendors are being kind of gobbled up and such. But there's a very specific reason to go to Chronosphere over other solutions. And maybe you can just double click a little bit down on that, because I think that really the audience should know that.
Yeah, 100%. So for us, this acquisition again adds the this concept of controlling your data and managing your costs through controlling that data, right? And that for us is one of our major differentiators. We'll talk about the other one in a second here, but that's one of our major differentiators because the trend at which the observability data was growing and hence directly correlated the observability cost was growing was a unsustainable trend. And that the cost of observability data and the volume of observability data increase over time is growing far faster than your overall cloud infrastructure footprint. So like it was an unsustainable growth pattern, and for us, like solving that problem was key for in our mind for the industry, and that's one of our major differentiators. So having Calyptia allow us to do that for the log data type as well, and we've been doing it for metrics and for distributed traces this whole time, really does help us continue to differentiate, at least on the cost side, for us there. But yeah.
That makes sense, Martin. I mean, I think that customer choice, that's what I heard, right? I heard customers can kind of get to where they want to go to. They can leverage the platform for as much or as little, even if their journey doesn't mean that they're fully, on that right side of the observability spectrum. They could be on the left side and just getting started. They can still kind of know and figure out how to get there. So it's definitely, you have that customer choice to get them in the door and kind of try it, crawl, walk, run approach. But Martin, as we're kind of like wrapping this up, this last section, what's next for Chronosphere? What do you see as the next advancements in the observability and the security space?
Yeah. So on one hand, for us, we're going to continue down this cost control side of things for sure, and just really start to get more advanced there. But what's more interesting is, and you mentioned this earlier, it's all about actionable insights, right? Like I think the industry has been talking about a single pane of glass for a very long time. The problem with a single pane of glass is, yes, you have all of your data in one place, but it's all raw data. And to what I said earlier about the volume increase in the amount of data there is, it's almost too much for an end developer to sift through. Now, when something goes wrong, there's so much data for somebody to process and figure out what's going on. It's actually quite hard and quite a difficult a job to do. So for us, the other differentiator of Chronosphere is that we actually automatically, through this feature called Chronosphere Lens, which is our unique user experience, we actually automatically analyze all of that raw data for you and only present you the actionable insights, right? So the whole thing is about actionable insights there. And that's really where both our investment is going to be going more and more into as we move forward, but also I think where the industry is going as well, right? If you look at the trend of more complex environments, more data, more signals, I would say, one, you have to go deal with the cost of that. And two, you have to get more value out of that at a quicker pace. So those are really the two problems that we're trying to solve here. And that I think those are the two problems that the industry is running into, and hence that's where we want to make our investments.
So exciting, right? But for the audience here that's watching this video right now, how do they get started with Chronosphere? Where do they go and what do they do if they know nothing about this? How do they get going?
Yeah, probably the best place is to go to chronosphere.io. We do our website there. We do have a lot of blog content. We do have a lot of like webinars and things like that talks about, I would say, the problems that people on this call may be running into, and perhaps some of the ways that they can use Chronosphere to go help solve those particular problems.
Very good, Martin. Martin, it's always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for your insights and your overview of Chronosphere and this new acquisition, as well as this partnership. It's a very exciting time, and I love the picture of Mount Rainier in the background, the Space Needle. It's fantastic to see that. I also want to thank the audience for watching today. Subscribe to our channel so you never miss an episode, and we'll talk to you next time. Thank you very much and have a great day.